Last class we talked about how do you write a select statement, how do you do a very simple where clause where you can use comparison operators between, in, not in, how can you alias the columns. We talked about those things, right? Now the next thing what we want to talk about is arithmetic operators, right? We haven't talked about the arithmetic operators. Now what are the arithmetic operators? So all the operators that you use in the calculation, doing subtraction, doing plus, multiplication, minus, addition, subtraction, or division. All those are the arithmetic operators. Now, when do you need the arithmetic operators? Any example you can think of? So, let's say,
when you're doing calculations?
Yeah, when you want to do calculation on your table. At time you want to use your arithmetic operators. So, if I go, let's say, let's look at one of the table. So here, let's say if I ask you, what's your monthly salary? Okay, so let's say it's in 1 month they pay it by frequency is 1. So how much amount you are paying to each person? Let's say you pay for each employee per frequency for 80 hours only. So what you have to do is, you have to multiply this rate by 80 and then you can create column and say, so let's do it in here. How can you use it here? So what I'm saying is, let's say for each pay frequency, you pay 80 hours. I want you to calculate how much I'm paying to each employee in a month. How do you do that? What you do is, you say rate. So basically, you want to add one more column in here where you can see the calculation, right? So for each employee, how much is the monthly pay? That's what you want to see. So let me remove this thing. Okay. So now this is the simple select all the columns from your table name. Now what you want to do is you want the next column in here. So what you do is you put comma, right? All columns will be comma separated. Now what do you want to see? You want to see a monthly pay, how much you are paying. And that is what? It's rate into frequency into 80, right? 80 is the hours you pay. So let's say this is your hourly rate that you're paying and the pay frequency is 1, it means this person will be paid only for 80 hours. If the pay frequency is let's say 2, you're paying it 160 hours. So how much would be for each employee? Would be nothing but rate, right? That would be multiplied by pay frequency. So these are two are the columns on your table. And the third is nothing but, let's say it's a constant that you multiply. So what you're doing is you just do a multiplication and it will generate a new column because it's comma separated. So it will generate a new column on your table that will be his monthly pay rate. Okay, so this is his monthly pay. Now, you see the column name is not there. Why? Because you did a calculation and you haven't given a column name. How do you give a column name? You do an alias, right? So you say as, and you put the square bracket, and you say this is the monthly pay. Okay? This is the monthly pay. So if you execute, now you're going to see one more column, and this column is called as a calculated column because this column doesn't exist on your base table. Your base is employee history, and these columns are your base columns, but not this one. So on the base table you have these columns, but this is a calculated column. Okay? And so you can have different kind of, calculations that you can do. Just remember you have to apply the board math rule. Like first you need to solve the brackets. If you studied like when you studied in high school, you solve the braces, then you do the division, multiplication, then you do the addition, and then you do the subtraction. Okay? You have to follow that thing in here as well. Okay? Alright. So now the same thing if I have sales.order detail table. Let's take sales order detail table. Okay? In here, if you see, this is by transactions, how many things are sold. So in here, you have the unit price and you have the order quantity. If I ask you, can you give me the line total? What would be the line total for this one? quantity into unit price, which is already there. But let's say if you are not storing that information in the table, because it can be obtained from order quantity into unit price, what you can do is, on the query runtime, you can just create one more column and say that would be order quantity into unit price, right? Okay, and then you can alias this as a line total. Okay, now if I ask you, I want you to subtract unit price discount from that, how can you do it? How are you going to subtract the unit price discount from it? Do you do the subtraction in here and say unit price discount or no? No, you will need to do the braces in here. Okay. Alright, makes sense? If you don't put the bracket, what it's going to do is it's just going to first do the multiplication and then it will subtract. So it won't be a right calculation because you will be subtracting unit price discount only once if the person has purchased product 3 times. So that won't be a correct calculation. So when you do a calculation, you have to follow the word mass rule. Like if the unit price will be subtracted from the unit price discount and then you do a multiplication. Okay. And then if you have a taxes on top of it, let's say you want to, if you have a tax in here, you don't have a tax. But if you have a tax, you can add the taxes after that and say this is your line total with tax. This would be without tax. If you have a tax, what you can do is you do plus and then whatever the column you have in the tax amount, you will say that in here and that would be your line total after tax. Okay. Is it clear? So basically how you do a mathematical, you can apply those things on your columns that exist on your table, and that would be basically how you can use your comparison operators. Right? And you see how can you use multiplication, subtraction, the same way you can use the division too. Okay. So if I have to obtain from the line total what is the unit price, you just do line total divided by the order quantity, right? So if I have to obtain, if you don't have the unit price on your table, what you can do is you can do line total divided by order quantity. Okay, that will be as the unit price. So you can do all different mathematical calculations that you can think that are complex. You can do it here, and that would be a calculated column on your table, and then you have to alias it, and that's it. Okay. Now the next one is percent sign, right? So this is used for calculating the remainder. Okay, the remainder. So if you divide, let's say, if you divide any number by 2, if it's an odd number, what you get is a remainder. Remainder of any odd number when you divide by 2, what will be the remainder? Anyone? Now, if I divide odd number, that's a 3, if I divide by 2, what will be the remainder? It's a 1, right? So, if I divide even number by 2, what will be the remainder? 0. So, that percent sign, when you divide a number, a divisor by a, when you do divide a number by a divisor, you will get a remainder. So, that percent will give you the remainder. Okay. So, let's see. If I have the employee ID in here, okay. If I divide, if I add one more column, and I will show you what will be the dividend, or what will be the remainder. So if I say employee ID percentile 2, if you do that, what you're gonna get? You're getting remainder for each of them. So if it's an odd number, you're gonna get 1 remainder. If it's an even number, you're getting 1. Okay. If you divide the number by 3, you will be getting remainder as 0, 1, and 2. Right? So if it's 11, if you divide it by 3, the 2 will be remainder. This percent sign will basically calculate the remainder. Okay? It's just a mathematical thing that you have in the SQL. How it can be used, it depends. Okay. So if I ask you, give me all the employee IDs who are just even numbers, employee ID. How do you do that? Anyone? If I ask you, can you give me all the employees whose employee ID is even? How are you going to do it? So what you say is, where you want to see all the employee IDs? No, you want to see only those employee IDs, right, where you divide by 2 what you expect, 0. So what you're saying is, give me only those employees. When you divide it by 2, it gives 0. So you put it in the where condition, and when you run it, right now you're seeing all, but when you run it, you're going to see only the even employee IDs. Okay. If I ask you, give me only those employee IDs who are odd, what you say? Divide the employee ID by 2, and if its remainder is 1, then it's all odd. So you do this. So you're getting all the odd employee IDs. I'm just saying, what I meant here is you can use the arithmetic operators in the where clause. Don't think you can only use arithmetic operators in the select statement. You can use it even in the where clause. Okay? Alright? Okay. I want to see only those sales order or only those records where after discount you put the discount on them. Okay? So let's say if the discount is 200 in here. You only want to see those unit price where after unit price after discount is greater than 2000. So let's say if I ask you in the store, what are all those products that after discount will cost me $2,000 after discount? How do you do that? So if you subtract the unit price from the unit discount, it has to be greater than 2000. Right? So where unit price, if you subtract out unit price discount, it has to be greater than 2000. So that's how you can do it. So it's not only you can write this unit price greater than 2000, you can write a calculation in here, and when you calculate, it has to be greater than 2000. Okay? Okay. This is another example I will ask you, if you can write one query. So let's say you don't have the line total on your table. I want you to give me all the orders that are more than $10,000. How do you do that? So each order would be how much? Order quantity times unit price minus unit price discount, right? So just forget about unit price discount right now. I want all the rows where you made more than $10,000 of a sale. How do you calculate?
So then it could be where
Uh-huh.
times unit price greater than 10,000.
Unit price? Up. Yep.
Times quantity.
Yep. Greater than 10,000. Right? And you make sure you put the single quotes after them. Okay? So you won't run into errors. Okay. So I want you to show all the lines where line total is greater than 2000. But I only want to see only those rows if the discount has been applied. How do you do that? So if this line is greater than 2000, but does it have a discount? No. I don't want to see this one. Is this line greater than 2000? No. Yes, it is. But does it have a discount? No. I don't want to see it. So if I go down, there are some, so see, there is one record I see. Yeah. So is this record greater than 2000? Yes. Does there is a discount? Yes. So I only want to see those records where a discount is given and it's greater than 2000. How do you write a query? Do you see there are, how many conditions I asked you?
Two conditions.
Two conditions, exactly. Do I want you to follow both of them or just one? So I asked you, I want only those records where unit price discount is applied and line total is greater than 2000. So it means there are two conditions and both has to be followed, right? Line total greater than 2000, okay. So if
And unit price is 0.
and unit price greater than 0.
Unit price is...
Oh yes, unit price discount, sorry, yep. Yes, good. So this will be your query when I ask you. So what you did is, you did both the conditions. So let's say if you don't have a line total, what you're going to do is, you're going to use this one, right? If you don't have line total, then you say unit price into order quantity has to be greater than 2000 and unit price has to be greater than 0. Okay? So see, what we did is, yesterday we learned just AND clause and then this operators. Now we are mixing those AND clause and OR with the comparison operators, right? So that's how we're going to go. When we go further in the class, we're going to include all those things what we will be learning, right? So if I say I need a line total as another column, so we learned that how to put alias, okay? Like when you do the calculation, the column is generated, how do you use the alias, okay? Alright, perfect. So this is how you can use the calculation either in the where clause or in the select statement. If you use in the select statement with the comma, it will appear as a new column in your result set. Okay. When you use it here, it won't be shown, but it will be calculated and the data will be shown according to your conditions. Okay. Alright. So let's see. Okay, I think we can stop in here and then we'll start in the next class with this one. Okay, in the next class we're going to see while operators, that is called like in SQL Server. We'll talk about this one in the next class. And we'll see what is top, what is distinct, and what is order by.